Okay, now let's talk about data types. Okay, now every programming language has data types. Okay, every programming language, each and every language has data types. So let's just discuss them right now. Okay, now for example, the data types such as integer, long, byte, double, character, right? So these are the basic data types that every programming language has. So let's just discuss them one by one. Fine. So the first data type is integer. Okay, so integer. Now say suppose I write integer int I is equal to 100. Int I is equal to 100. That is, there is a memory location whose name is I, right? And then 100 has been stored inside that memory location. Fine. Now if suppose I want to print the value of I, you can simply write console.writeLine and write I. Okay, so this what would this statement do? It would simply print the value of I for you. Okay, now if I run this code, over here you see that the value of I, that is 100, it gets printed in the console output window. Fine. Now over here some people make mistakes. The mistake that they make is that they put I in double quotes. Okay, they simply put I in double quotes, and now when you run your project, you would see that the value of I, it does not get printed. Simply the I letter, it gets printed. Okay, so when you write I in double quotes, I will be printed as it is. The value inside it doesn't get printed. Okay, so in all, if you want to print the value of I, you need to simply print, you need to simply write it like this. You need not to give I in double quotes. Okay, and then in the next line you can simply write, if suppose you write I is equal to 1000. Okay, so you can change the value of I as well. You need not to declare the I variable again. With the integer data type, you need not to declare it again. You can simply update the value of I any number of times. Okay, so declaration is required only once. You need not to declare each and every time again and again. Okay, and then if you want to print the updated value of I, you can simply write console.writeLine and then I. Okay, and when you run your code, you would see that the updated value of I, it gets printed before you, that is 1000. Okay, so like I told you that declaration of I is required only once. Okay, you need not to declare the I variable again and again. Okay, so now similarly we have another data type as long. Okay, we have another data type as long. Say I write long z is equal to 200. Okay, now what this long data type, this long variable would do, it is also a data type which is used to store integer values. Okay, this integer data type is also storing the integer values. Fine. Then what is the difference between integer and long? Well, there is a difference between both of them. The difference is that size of integer is 32 bits. Okay, and that of long is 64 bits. Okay, which is double the capacity of integer. Okay, so if you want to have a large number, if you have a very large number, then you can simply store that number inside the long variable. Okay, which can store nearly double the capacity of integer variable, as you can see. Okay, so if you want to store a large number, then you can simply store it inside the long variable. Fine. And now one more thing is that these integer and long variables, it cannot store decimal values. Okay, it cannot store the decimal values. So in order to store the decimal values, we have another data type, that is double. Okay, so I write double D is equal to any decimal number. Okay, so in order to store the decimal values, we have a double data type which is capable of storing the integer values as well as the decimal values. Okay, so double would print the integer as well as the decimal values. It would store both the numbers, integer as well as the decimal values. Fine. Then we have another data type as character. See, I read cat C, and then you have to write the character variable with inside these single quotes. Okay, in single quotes you need to write the character that you want to print. This character can be any English character, any French character, any character it can be. Okay, but only one character is allowed at a time. You cannot just print multiple characters with the character variable. Okay, so if you want to say suppose print this character, you can simply write cat C, and now when you run your code you would see that the R letter it just prints. Okay, so the character variable, the data type, is used to store only single character at a time. You cannot store multiple characters with the character variable. Okay, it does not allow you to store multiple characters. Okay, then we have another data type as Boolean. Say I write Boolean B is equal to true. Okay, now this Boolean variable, it only takes true and false values. Okay, it only takes true and false values. Okay, so Boolean is used specially with the if statements. Fine, so we will be discussing the if statements as well. Okay, now say suppose I write console.writeLine and I print any number. Fine, and when you run your code you would see that the 20 number it gets printed. Okay, now if suppose I write over here, say if 5 is greater than 1, okay, now what this operator means. Now this is a greater than operator. It is a comparison operator which compares 5 with 1. Okay, which is comparing 5 with 1. Say suppose I just print this. Okay, so what is this statement doing? It just compares. This greater than is a comparison operator which compares 5 with 1, that is 5 is greater than 1 or not. And now when I run my code, you would see that the output coming up as true. Okay, since 5 is greater than 1, so the output is coming as true. Fine, so these conditional operators, it would always return you the output in the Boolean format. Okay, it would always return you the output in the Boolean format. And now when I say suppose I write 5 is greater than 122, and then when I run my code the output is false. Okay, so these conditional operators, it would always return you the output in the Boolean form only. Okay, now besides these greater than operator, we have more operators as greater than, less than, then we have greater than is equal to, we have less than equal to, then we have an equality operator, double equal to. Okay, now say suppose I wanna print 39 is equal to 39. Okay, and now when I run my code, so here you see the output as true. Okay, since 39 is equal to 39, so this is an equality operator. This double equal to is an equality operator which compares both these numbers with equality. Okay, so and then we have another operator as not equal to, which is not equal to. If the numbers are not equal to, then you can just simply compare them with this not equal to operator. Okay, so these are the conditional operators which would always return the output in the Boolean format. Okay, now if suppose I hardcode the value over here as true. Okay, if I say if it is true, then simply console the output as pass. Okay, and now when I run my code, so it prints the output as pass. Okay, if the condition is true, then simply print the output as pass. Now over here, say suppose you are not hard coding the value over here. If I say suppose write any condition, say 2 is greater than 1, then when I run my code, you would see the output as pass. Okay, since 2 is greater than 1, so it moves inside this if condition and then prints the output as pass. Fine. Now you can even store these numbers inside the variables as well. Okay, say suppose I write int x is equal to 2, and then I have another variable y which has the value 1. Okay, and then you can simply compare these variables over here. If x is greater than y, then simply move inside the if condition and then simply print the output as pass. Okay, now when I run my code, so over here you see that it does not print anything. The pass is not being printed. Okay, it is because the condition is not true right now. X is not greater than y, so it just did not move inside the if condition and does not print anything. Okay, so over here we can simply write if x is greater than y, then you can simply write x is greatest. Okay, and then we can append the value of x as well. After that, if you want to print the value of x as well, you can simply write, now this plus operator, it is a concatenation operator which concatenates this string with the value of x. Fine. Now when I since our condition is not true, so it is not printing anything. Now if the condition is not satisfied, okay, then we have to write the else part as well. So we write else console.writeLine y is greatest. Okay, and then you can give the value of I as well. Okay, so now when I run my code, so now it prints the output as y is greatest and the value of y is 13. Fine. So this plus is a concatenation operator which concatenates the string with the value of I. Okay, now one more thing you can see over here, if you have a single line in the curly braces with the if condition, then you need not to put the curly braces over here. You can simply write the statement after the if else condition. Okay, you just no need to write the curly braces. Okay, then also the output would come. Okay, you can simply skip the curly braces if you have only single line after the if else conditions. Fine. So this was the if else condition. Now similarly we can have the nested if else statements as well. Say suppose I want to print the greatest of 3 numbers. Okay, so for that we can do with the help of the if else condition. Say I have integer number as int a1 is equal to 100, then I have int b1 is equal to 200, then I have int c1 is equal to 300. Fine. Now say suppose I want to print the greatest of all these 3 numbers. Fine. So we will do with the if else condition. So you say if a1 is greater than b1 and a1 is greater than c1. Fine. Now this and is an ampersand operator which would compare both these parts, the left part and the right part. Fine. So it says that if both of these parts are true, that is a1 is greater than b1 is true and a1 is greater than c1 also, then it would go inside the if condition and would print a1 is greatest. Okay, and then we can print the value of a1 as well. Okay, so this and is an ampersand operator which would see both these parts, the left part and the right parts, and if both of these parts are equated to true, then it would go inside the if condition. Okay, so if a1 is greater than b1 and a1 is also greater than c1, then simply go inside this if condition and print a1 is greatest and the value of a1 as well. Okay, and if suppose a1 is not greater, then we would have b1 or c1 as the greatest number. Then you can write else if b1 is greater than c1. Okay, then you have b1 is the greatest. Okay, and then we can give the value of b1 as well. Else if b1 is also not greatest, then we can simply write c1 is the greatest. Okay, and then the value of c1. Okay, and now when I run my code, so here you see the output as c1 is greatest and the value of c1 is 300. Okay, so this is how you can just print the greatest of the three numbers. Now over here, suppose I change the value of b1, and when I run my code, so it says b1 is greatest and the value of b1 is 2200. Okay, so this is how you can just print the greatest of the three numbers with the help of nested if else conditions. Okay, and now we have one more class as the string class. Okay, say I have string is equal to, now this string variable, this string class, it is used to store multiple characters at the same time. Say suppose I write hello, how are you? Okay, and now let's just print this string class, and now when I run my code, okay, so here you see that this string, it just prints in the console output hello, how are you? Fine. So this string class, it helps you to store the multiple characters at the same time in a single variable. Fine. Like I told you that the character variable, it can only store a single character at a time, but the string variable, it can store multiple characters at one single time. Fine. So this was the string class. So we had done with the today's class. Fine.